we start, which is the Radha. I think everyone here knows it. So if you can follow as a chorus, that would be very much appreciated. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari 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 Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanarajana 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 Jaya Vrajajanarajana Jaya Vrajajanarajana Jaya Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari 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 Jaya Radha Madhava 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 Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Brahmacari Sri Thakur ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. ISKCON Scarborough ki jai. Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna
Pushtaya Bhutale Srimadi Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayat. Hare Krishna. So, I have a confession to make. And my confession is I didn't prepare a class. So this morning, I opened the Bhagavad Gita, and it opened, this is about an hour ago. So I opened it, and it opened to chapter 10, shloka number 6. And this chapter is entitled, The Opulence of the Absolute. So I figure that's the verse I should speak on, because that's the page it opened to. So that's the verse we'll do today. So I see Bhagavad Gitas were handed out to everyone. So I guess we're going to do, is it word for word or line by line? How do you usually do it? Word for word? Okay. So
what was the shloka again?
10:6.
427.
Yeah, page whatever, 427. If everybody has the same book. Maharashaya Sapta Purve Chatvaro Manava Tata Mad Bhava Manasa Jata Yesham Loka Imaha Praja Maharishaya Supta Purve Mahasharya Sapta Purve Chatvaro Manavastata Madbhava Manasajata Yesham Loka Ima Praja Maharishaya Sapta Purve Chatvaro Manavastata Madbhava Manasajata Yesham Loka Ima Praja Maharishaya Sapta Purve
Maharashaya Sapta Purve
Chatvaro Manasa Tatha
Chatvaro Manasastata
Madbhava Manasa Jata
Madhvaha Manasata
Yesham Loka Ima Praja
Yesham Mahima Praja
Maharashaya Sapta Purve
Maharashaya Sapta Purushe
Chatvaro Manavastata
Chatvaro Manavastata
Madhava Manasa Jata
Madbhava Manasa Jata
Yesham Loka Ima Praja
Yesham Loka Ima Praja 10:6. Yeah, you can read. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Man. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? Okay.
Maharashaya Sapta Purve
Maharashaya Satapurve
Chatvaro Manvastatha
Chatvaro Manavastata
Madhava Manasjata
Madhava Manasjata
Yesham Loka Ima Prajaha
Yesham Loka Ima Praja
Maharashaya Sapta Purve
Maharashaya Satapurve
Chatvaro Manavastatha
Chatvaro Manavastata Madhava Manasjata
Yesham Loka Ima Prajaha
Yesham Loka Ima Praja. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll continue. Maharashya, the great sages.
The great sages.
Sapta,
Sapta
seven.
Seven
Purve,
Purve
before.
Before
Chatvara,
Chatvara
four.
Four
Manava,
Manava
manus.
Manus
Tata,
Tata
also.
Also
Madhava,
Madhvava
born of me.
Born of me
Manasa,
Manasa
from the mind.
From the mind
Jata,
Jata
born.
Born
Yesham,
Yesham
of them.
Of them
Loke,
Loke
in the world.
In the world
Imaha,
Imaha
all this.
All this
Praja,
Praja
population.
Population
Purport. Translation. The seven great sages,
The seven
Great
great
sages
sages,
and before them,
and before them,
the four other great sages,
the
Four other great sages
and the Manus,
And the Manus
progenitors of mankind,
Progenitors of mankind
come from me,
Come from me
born from my mind,
Born from my mind
and all the living beings
And all the living and beings
populating the various planets
Populating the various planets
descend from them.
descend from them.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
The Lord is giving a genealogical synopsis of the universal population. Brahma is the original creature born out of the energy of the Supreme Lord, who is known as Hiranyagarbha. And from Brahma, all the seven great sages, and before them, four other great sages, named Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar, and the 14 Manus are manifested. All these 25 great sages are known as the patriarchs of the living entities all over the universe. There are innumerable universes and innumerable planets within each universe. And each planet is full of population of different varieties. All of them are born of these 25 patriarchs. Brahma underwent penance for 1,000 years of the demigods. before he realized by the grace of Krishna how to create. Then from Brahma came Sanak, Sananda, Sanatan, and Sanat Kumar, then Rudra, and then 7 sages. And in this way, all the Brahmins and Kshatriyas were born out of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma is known as Pitamaha, the grandfather, and Krishna is known as Prapitamaha, the father of the grandfather. That is stated in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 1139. So if you want, as a homework, you can go check out 1139 and see what Krishna has to say there. But today, we'll just concentrate on what Krishna is saying here. So, read in verse again. The 7 great sages, and before them, the 4 great sages, the Manus, the progenitors of mankind come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. So Lord Krishna, actually if we look at this giant poster here, it gives us an illustration of, it's entitled Goloka Chart. And it gives us a breakdown of basically how the universes are created. So Lord Krishna is sitting at the top of the spiritual world on his planet known as Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka Vrindavan is shaped like a giant lotus. And if you zoom in a little closer, you will see that each direction of that giant lotus has a different demarcation where Lord Krishna is enjoying with the word Krishna means the supreme enjoyer. So he's always enjoying. See, you read Krishna book, anywhere you read about Lord Krishna, he's always enjoying. You never see where he might be so-called suffering. So we know, many of us probably have read or heard the Ramayana, and we know the story of Lord Ram. And in that particular Leela, it appeared for some time that the Lord looks like he was suffering. So this is an incarnation of Lord Krishna, known as Lord Ram. But when Lord Krishna is performing his Leela, he is always enjoying. There's never, even when he's dancing on the head of Kaliya, the most dangerous serpent, with venom spewing out of his many mouths. And the venom was so pervasive that even birds that were flying above were getting poisoned from the venom that was just spewing out of the many mouths of Kaliya, and they were falling from the sky. But Krishna was just standing there dancing. Right? He was dancing, he was playing his flute. So here, even in the most so-called dangerous situations in the material world, we find Krishna, and he always has a smile on his face, and we never see Krishna looking morose. He's always smiling.
Why? How come he never killed Kaliya? He killed everybody else in Vrindavan. He killed all demons, but he never killed Kaliya. Why?
Because the Nagapatnis, the wives, all the various wives of Kaliya, they begged, my dear Lord Krishna, please don't kill our husband. We are fully dependent on him. And then Krishna said, okay, since you ask, I will save him. But he can't stay here. He has to leave. So we know, Srila Prabhupada told us, that Kaliya actually went, I don't know, where's Fiji? Which ocean is that Fiji in? The Indian Ocean? Yeah? The Indian Ocean. So Kaliya is living near Fiji now. So if you go to our ISKCON Fiji, our first temple, I don't know how many temples are in Fiji, but anyway, the first temple that was open there, there's a beautiful deity of Kaliya Krishna, Lord Krishna, dancing on the head of Kaliya. And they've said that from time to time, people have seen some giant serpent in the ocean, not far from the coast of Fiji. So Krishna is always enjoying. This is what the word Krishna means. So Krishna resides in Goloka Vrindavan, and through his agency, through his many different expansions, everything is happening. So his very first expansion is Lord Balaram. So we understand from scripture and from Guru and Sadhu that Balaram and Krishna are like two different persons in the same body, if you will. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us this philosophy of Achintya Veda Veda Tattva, which means Krishna is simultaneously one with Balaram, yet he is different. So technically they're the same, but physically they're different. They're two different personalities. But Lord Balaram is just as powerful as Lord Krishna. There is no, sometimes if you make a photocopy of a page and you compare the two, you can tell that one is a photocopy and the other one is the original. Because why? Because there's some degradation in the quality. But when Krishna expands as Balaram, there is no degradation. Why? Because Krishna is perfect. Right? Krishna is perfect and complete. There is that verse. How does that verse go, Prabhu?
Om Purnamidam Purnat Purnadachyate Purnasya Purnamadave Purnamevavashishyate.
Yes, so Krishna is complete, right? There's never any difference. I mentioned earlier about Lord Ramachandra appearing, and it appeared like he was sorrowful, he was in distress when Mother Sita was so-called kidnapped. Although we know that was not the real Sita, that was Maya Sita, was an expansion of Mother Sita. When Krishna from time to time, there are these different avatars, these different incarnations, they come for a particular purpose. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo iti tattva takta deham punnar janma naiti mamiti swarjana. He says, one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not upon leaving this body return to this material world, but come to my transcendental abode of Arjuna. Right? I think I said it correctly. I don't know if I missed a word or not, but. So Krishna comes for the pleasure of his devotees. From time to time he will come so that his devotees can be with him, enjoy with him, have some pastimes with him, and when he's done, he moves on to another. It's Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the purport of this verse that there are many universes. So if we look in the bottom of the spiritual world, not that black dark circle on the bottom, but just above that, we see Mahavishnu lying in the Kajal ocean, which is also called the Karana ocean, because he is also known as Karanodakashai Vishnu. And as he lies in that ocean is actually, does anybody know where the water comes from that ocean? You probably know. Does anyone know? Where does all that water come from that he's lying? Huh? Anyone? I hear something.
Ganges?
No, where does the water come from? This is the spiritual world. Ganges is the material world. Where is that water coming from? Well, where does it come from?
Lord Shiva?
No.
Oh, the Jata of Lord Shiva.
No. The Jata of Lord Shiva is accepting the water on earth. Where does that... So the water is actually the perspiration of Garbhodakashai Vishnu. And it fills up a quarter of the universe, and the Lord lies there. And if any of us have gone into a pool or an ocean or a pond or whatever, and you exhale, you see all these bubbles coming out. Or if you fill a bucket with cold water and you stick your arm, you'll see little tiny bubbles. Because every little pore, there are little tiny holes that we can't see on our body. And we breathe through those as well. So if you cover it up, there was a movie back in the 60s, a James Bond movie, I think it's called Goldfinger. And they painted this girl, I think it was, in gold completely. And she died because all the pores got covered. In the movie, she died for real. Because she couldn't, her body couldn't breathe, it was, right? So they didn't know. This was the 60s, nobody knew, right? And probably the paint was also toxic, probably had lots of lead in it too, which is also very toxic, that chemical. So, but when the Lord is lying there, all these, as he exhales, all these bubbles comes out of his nostrils and out of his pores. And each bubble is a universe. So we see an example below, the round, dark circle with many different color layers. That's one universe. Out of zillions, you see the yellow balls? They're all other universes. So as the Lord exhales, millions and countless millions of universes is expelled from his body. And then when he inhales, all those universes go back in. So this is the cycle of creation of the material world. We once, as we understand from Srimad Bhagavatam and also Bhagavad Gita, that we once all existed in the spiritual world, but we were envious of Lord Krishna. We want to enjoy on the same level as Krishna. Well, we cannot enjoy it on the same level as the Master. He is the Master, he's Purush, and we're Prakriti. Prakriti cannot enjoy on the same level as Purusha. So Lord Krishna is Purush. All of us, even though we may have a male body, or we may have an animal body, or tree body, or whatever body we have, we're all Prakriti. We're all enjoyed by the Supreme Lord. So we wanted to enjoy in the same level. Krishna says, okay, you want to enjoy? I have a perfect place for you to go. So he kindly creates these material worlds, and he sends us there. And we can do two things when we come here. We can just simply go on enjoying, although the enjoying is subjective. The enjoyment, because at one moment we might be enjoying, and the next minute, heart attack, or whatever ailment we may have. So this material world is not a place for enjoyment. You know, they talk about sukh and dukh. It's not a place for enjoyment. But what it's a place for is to realize Krishna and try to go back to him, go to the spiritual world. Right? Everybody wants to go to heaven. Right? Everyone wants to go to heaven. Is considered to be a better place than hell or anywhere else in between. So everyone wants to go there. But there is a price to pay to get to heaven. So there are two heavens. There's one here in the material world, called Swargaloka, and then the real heaven is the spiritual world, where it's completely spiritual. We would never come here again. So that's actually the place that we really want to go, back to the spiritual world, where there's no beginning, middle, or end. So Krishna kindly creates this material world through the agency of his many different expansions. And then we all come to this material world to live out our fantasies or our situations of wanting to enjoy in the same level. Right? And when we don't feel that we've enjoyed enough, we start accumulating karma. This karma propels us to come back again and again and again and again and again through 8,400,000 species or 8 million species until we get the 400,000 are human species. So there are some species here on Earth, but there are other human species in other worlds. People might say, oh, this is the only populated planet. There's nothing else out there. Right? But we understand that this body is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And we also heard from material scientists that 78% of our body is made up of water. But can you see the water? We can't see it, but yet 78% water is there, right? So there's the sun planet. Who's to say that the residents of that planet, their body is not made up of 95% fire? Who's to say that, right? Or some other planet like Jupiter, they say it's very full of chemicals. If we arrive there, one breath and we're dead, right? But who's to say they're not other living entities, that they breathe sulfuric acid or whatever acid is circulating on that planet? You know, but this is Krishna. Krishna creates different entities based on our karma, and we take residence in different planets based on whatever situation is there. So Krishna is saying in this verse that from my mind comes the 4 Kumars. So these are perfected living entities that reside in the spiritual world, either on a Vaikuntha planet, which there are many. In the middle, we see this big blue circle with a lot of yellow, what looks like suns. They're Vaikuntha planets. And each Vaikuntha planet, on each Vaikuntha planet, the predominating deity is Lord Krishna in some different form. There's a Ram Loka, there's a Singha Loka, there's a, you name the different incarnations of the Lord, and even ones that we don't know of are there, right? We hear of Vishnu Sahasranam Shloka, right? I think our dear Nitai Prabhu sings that verse all the time. That's 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu. And if we listen very carefully when he's singing, we might pick out a few of them. Yes, yeah, I recognize this one, I recognize that. But do we recognize all 1,000? And that's just names that are known in this universe. Right? And this is actually the smallest of all the universes that emanates from the body of Mahavishnu. So our Lord Brahma has 4 heads, which means the universe is 4 yojanas wide. In some universe, there's a Brahma with 1 head. There's some universe, Lord Brahma with 10,000 heads, 1,000,000 heads, 10 million heads, etc. Same thing with Lord Shiva. Our Lord Shiva has 1 head. But there are other universes where Lord Shiva has umpteen number of heads. So how do we know this? So we find out in Srimad Bhagavatam, one time Lord Krishna was in Dwarka, sitting here, and Lord Brahma came to visit him. So the Lord has his doorkeepers, Jai and Vijay. They follow him everywhere. Someone has a servant. The servant is always beside the master. Wherever the master goes, anywhere in the world, the servant is there. They go to the bathroom, he's standing by the door waiting. Right? They go everywhere. So Lord is in Dwarka, his 2 servants are there. So Lord Brahma shows up at the door and he says, I'd like to meet with Lord Krishna. And the doorkeeper said, oh, who should we tell him is here? He said, tell him Brahma is here. So they went back in and they told Lord Krishna, Lord Brahma is here to see you. Lord Krishna could understand. Lord Brahma had a little bit of arrogance about him because he was saying, how can you not recognize me? I am Brahmaji. I'm coming here to see the Lord. Why can't you let me in? Why do I have to wait here? So there was a little bit of you know. So then Lord Krishna could understand this. Lord Krishna said, which Brahma? So they went back to the door. Which Brahma? So what do you mean, which Brahma? The Brahma. So they went back and then they told Krishna. Krishna said, "Let him come in." So Lord Brahma came in, and when he came in, he offered respects by bowing his head to the floor. And when he got up, then Lord Krishna said, he said to Lord Krishna, he said, I have a question. And Krishna says, what is that? He said, why did you ask which Brahma? And Krishna smiled, and he closed his eyes for like a nanosecond. He opened his eyes, there were like millions of Brahmas, and millions of Lord Shivas, and millions of Indras. And the Brahmas all had different numbers of heads, and Lord Shivas all had different numbers of heads, and Lord Indras had many different number of eyes on his body. And when Lord Brahma looked, he was kind of like, because he realized that he was the smallest of all the Brahmas. There were many Brahmas that were more bigger and more powerful, but here he was thinking that I am Brahma, I'm the creator. And how dare they ask which Brahma? So the Lord, when he creates these universes, each universe, for the management of the universe, the Lord sends his devotees. And these are devotees who have perfected themselves and they've gone to the spiritual world. So Srila Prabhupada said, even we can become a Brahma if we perfect ourselves and we go to the spiritual world. So we understand from this verse, Krishna is saying, he says, from my mind comes the 4 Kumars. And from my mind came the Sapta Rishis. And from my mind came the 4 Kumars. Sorry, not the 4 Kumars. The 14 Manus. Right? So these are perfected living entities. Oh, and from then came Rudra. From these are perfected entities that all the Lord has to do is just meditate for a second, and he calls them, come, I have a job for you. Your job is to stay in this universe and create all these living entities that wants to enjoy at the same level. Your job is, 4 Kumaras, is to bring my devotees back to me. So we know that there are four Vaishnava Sampradayas, right? There's the Rudra Sampradaya, which is headed by Lord Shiva. There's the Kumar Sampradayas, which are headed by these 4 Kumars. There's the Shri Sampradaya, which is headed by Lakshmi Devi. And there's Brahma Sampradaya, Brahma Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is the one that we belong to, which is headed by Lord Brahma. So these devotees, Krishna says, come. I want you to come here, and I want you to be examples for all of these devotees who are hankering to come back to me. But they need guidance. And you will give them the guidance. You will show them how to come. Right? So we understand from scripture that there are 3 spiritual authorities: Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So we have Shastra, and we read. Now I try to read sometimes. I try to read as much as I can. But sometimes, some days when I try to read, even though it's written in English, I'm reading in English, sometimes I don't understand anything. And then, no matter if it's like written in an English that I can, but I don't understand that, like nothing is registering. So what I do is this and this. And then the next day, I pick it up, that same verse that I didn't understand a thing is very clear. Right? Sometimes there's disturbance happening inside. Sometimes we're aware of those disturbances, and other times we're not aware. Right? So we know Krishna talks in Bhagavad Gita about 3 kinds of disturbances. Right? Adi-daivik, Adi-bautik, and Adi-atmik. So these disturbances are there. They're either caused by our mind, they're caused by other living entities, or they're caused by material nature. Durga Devi, she's there. That's material nature. She's always trying to do something just to see how serious we are. That's her job, right? This material world, why is it so dark? The Sanskrit word for this material world is Durga, prison. And you see the layers, the different colors? There are 7 layers, and each layer is 10 times thicker than the previous one. So if we're smart, we think we're smart, and we build a rocket ship, and we try to go out, it's not gonna happen. We cannot leave. We're imprisoned. But we can go. There is a way. Either Krishna can escort us there, or his dutas, his servants can escort us. So we know in Krishna book where Lord Krishna actually, in the Srimad Bhagavatam actually is mentioned, Lord Krishna took Arjuna by the hand and took him to the spirit in the same material body. But Krishna can do anything, right? He's the Supreme Lord. So even with this material body, he took Arjuna to the spiritual world. So will we like that? And one day Lord Krishna comes. He says, come. Have we heard the story of HH Gopal? HH Gopal, we heard that story?
Yeah.
Yeah? HH Gopal is walking, Brahman is walking in the front, he's walking behind, and you can hear his gunguru, those little ankle bells. But Gopal told him, don't look back. I'm following you, but don't look back. If you do, I'll stop right there. So you can hear, and then after a while you couldn't hear anything anymore. Because all the sand, got into the little bells and it stopped making any sound. So Krishna, when he can come, he can step out of the deity. Right? We talk about avatars. There are different categories of incarnations of the Lord. So the one we talked about, the Lord Vishnu, we can see Lord Vishnu lying in the Karana ocean. We see another Vishnu lying in the Garbha ocean below. So this category of incarnation of the Lord is called Purusha avatar. So we have Garudakashai Vishnu, we have Karudakashai Vishnu, and we have Kshirodakashai Vishnu. And Kshirodakashai Vishnu is Paramatma. And Paramatma is residing, he's here. You just need to have the eyes to see him, he's there. He's there, he's in this light bulb. He's everywhere. Every atom, he exists in the nucleus of the atom. If you remember your science class, they talk about the nucleus, and I remember a little bit from those days, but and the nucleus is the whole thing that keeps it together, right? If I remember correctly. That keeps the atom intact. And if the nucleus is disturbed in some way, the atom will fall apart, as far as I understood it, from millions of years ago when I went to school.
It's the powerhouse. We call it the
Yeah,
powerhouse.
electrons and neutrons, I remember that too. So anyway, so Lord Krishna, he is in the form of Paramatma, is existing in the nucleus of that atom and keeping it together. But because he's antaryami, he's unlimited, he also exists in between the atoms. So not only inside, but also outside of the atoms. So he is in the spiritual world, yet he's in the material world. So we hear from Guru and Sadhu and Shastra that Vrindavan Dham, that we can find in India, in UP, is not different than Goloka Vrindavan. It actually exists in the spiritual world. Well, we just need to have the proper eyes to see it. Netra. We have to have the proper eyes to see it. Right? I knew I'd get your attention. So we need the proper eyes to see it. Right? But sometimes devotees go and they complain, oh, it's dusty, there's pigs everywhere, there's dogs, there's this, that. They're not seeing the real Vrindavan. The way we experience the real Vrindavan is stop thinking about what we're seeing and just revel in knowing that we are in the spiritual world. We are with Krishna. He is here. He's present here. We can't see him, but he is present here. But if we surrender that way, then we will be able to see him. So like the Brahman who went before Gopal, and he said, there was a promise made before you, and I want you to come as a witness. So Gopal said, how can I come? I can't even, I'm a deity. Right? I can't walk. He said, if you can talk, you can walk. So let's go. Right? So this is another category of incarnation of the Lord, the Archa Vigraha form. So the Lord mercifully appeared here in Scarborough in the form of Radha Gopi Vallabha. And pretty soon, in about 10 minutes, we'll peel the curtain back and we'll behold the beautiful forms of Radha and Gopi Vallabha. And this is Lord himself standing here, there, on the altar. So we should take full advantage. And if we're fortunate enough to be able to do some seva on the altar, our entire time that we are there should be completely surcharged in the thought of Krishna. Not thinking that I have to go home and cook, and I have to go to school, and I have to go shopping, and whatever. I haven't done my laundry yet. I have to vacuum, whatever. That should not be our thought pattern. Our thought pattern should be that we are so fortunate that the Lord gave us the opportunity to serve him. And we should be fully surrendered and only be thinking of him, nothing else. Not thinking that I have to do anything. Because the minute we might be there for a minute or two, and then one fine day, we'll find his boot print on our rear end. He'll just kick us out. Right? And some people can say, well, like, I know this person, I know that person, they're doing this and they're doing that. Like sometimes people say that. How come this person is so bad and nothing is happening to them? But Krishna acts in his own time. And how do we know that? So we see in Mahabharata, where the Lord's devotees, the Pandavas, they were going through so many trials and tribulations. They were removed from their kingdom. They were poisoned. Bhima was poisoned and thrown in the ocean or the river or whatever that was, and he went and found his great grandfather and got some powerful nectar that made him even more powerful. And then they were duped into gambling and losing every single thing that they had, including the clothing on their body, right? Everything. And people say, well, why did Krishna allow? But Krishna is merciful. We see when at the opportune moment, Lord Krishna appears and he does what's required. Draupadi was being disrobed in the public, and at the opportune moment, nobody saw him, but he was there giving her reams and reams of saris, unending. As long as she needed them, he was giving. When Durvasa Muni came with his thousands of disciples, because Duryodhana, being a crook that he is, sent him, go to Arjuna. He's happy to see you. He'll be waiting there to feed you and your thousands of disciples. Go to him. This is where he is. And of course, and that Durvasa Muni had a very short temper. You don't mess around with him, otherwise he'll curse you and something not untowards will happen. And so they went there, and now Arjuna ran into Draupadi and said, oh, Durvasa Muni is here, prepare lunch for him and thousands of disciples. And she goes, oh, I don't have anything. He says, what do you mean you don't have anything? You don't have anything. Well, she was given this magical pot by Agni Dev. And he told her that as long as you haven't eaten, this pot will never be empty. You can feed the entire universe, and the pot will never be empty. But the minute you eat, that's it. It's all done. So she had just finished eating, and then now she's in distress. So when devotees are in distress, the Lord comes. He was in Dwarka. So if you think of 5,250 years ago, there were no motor cars, there were no planes that we know it. They were traveling by chariot, right? Although Krishna could travel at the speed of the mind, which is the fastest mode of transportation. But anyway, they were traveling by chariots. But if you know the geography of India, where is UP, which is around that area where they were in the forest, and where Dwarka is out in the ocean, an island in the ocean. And immediately she thought, oh Krishna, I just finished eating. So this is the mood we should be always thinking, Krishna, you stump your toe, oh Krishna. Because you never know. You might stump your toe and that will be the end of it. Or you're driving on the road and smack, and that's it, Marlene. So anything could happen at any moment, so we should always be thinking, oh Krishna. And immediately, Lord Krishna appeared out of nowhere. And then she said, oh Krishna, I'm glad you're here. We have this problem. And Krishna said, well, I can't do anything. And she said, what do you mean you can't do anything? He said, I'm hungry. Give me something to eat first. Let me, I've traveled so far. Let me be satisfied, and then I can think of what to do. If I'm not eaten, we like that, we haven't eaten, we can't think. Let me eat first, and then I can think. So she said, well, he knew about the magical pot. She said, well, I just finished eating, there's nothing left. He said, bring that pot. And he looked, and there was a grain of rice. So we find many followers or devotees of Draupadi living in the Toronto temple. Sometimes we go in the kitchen and we could take a pot and it's supposed to be clean and there's rice still inside. Somebody hasn't cleaned properly. Or maybe sometimes that happened at home. You haven't fully cleaned it. But anyway, Krishna found that grain of rice, he took it, he ate the grain of rice, and the entire universe became satisfied. So this is what happens when we have Krishna, and we're always thinking of Krishna. And so he sends all of his devotees, through his mind, he's calling all of them, help these poor people. They need help. So let's take advantage of it. Guru Sadhu Shastra is there. Let's take full advantage, and maybe we can perfect ourselves, and we can go back to Godhead. Thank you very much. Any questions? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I'd like to make a comment. I want to say Hare Krishna Prabhuji
Hare
or
Krishna.
Guruji. Whenever you rendition or whenever you give a pravachan, I make sure I always sit down and listen attentively. And I just wanted to say that was a very beautiful and inspiring and divine katha that you just, spoke in front of us. And coming to the end of your katha, when you were talking about how divine the Lord's expansions are, I could remember the Acharya saying when I was growing up that the Lord is omnipresent, omnipotent, or omnipotent, and omniscient. And that was something. Another thing I wanted to say that I really enjoyed the analogy that you gave of the Lord smiling on top of the serpent. That was kind of inspiring for me to remember that yes, we are in this material world and there is going to be suffering, but taking shelter in Harinam is the only thing that we can do while we're here.
Yes.
So I just wanted to say thank you, and it was really beautiful and inspiring.
Thank you. And we do it with a smile. Even when we're suffering, we think of Krishna. Anyone else? Yes.
You were for the Garbhodaksha ocean. Is that also perspiration?
Yes, that's the perspiration from his body.
No.
Yeah, Garbhodaksha Vishnu. Yeah.
Okay.
In this, each universe is
That's also
half
perspiration.
filled with water.
That's also okay.
So you see that, and it's
Yeah.
half filled. That's the perspiration from his body.
Okay.
The Lord's perspiration does not smell bad like ours. It's very fragrant.
So the coastal ocean and it's the same. Okay.
Yeah. his body is completely transcendental.
Which chapter of Bhagavatam you are referring to? Which chapter of Bhagavatam? Srimad Bhagavatam.
So it mentions in the first canto, this whole description is right at the beginning. It gives you a whole description of how the material worlds are created and how they're destroyed. So we can find that in first canto.
They are very obeying the Bhagavatam, you know.
Yeah.
And Sukadeva Goswami are very,
Yes.
come to poetry and titles.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all there.
You can't name the chapter. Tell me the
No, I can't right now. But I haven't read the first canto in a long time. I have to admit. So I can't tell you which one. I remember what is there, but I can't remember where it is exactly. Okay, I will read again, just for you. Anyone else?
When you said about the nucleus in every atom,
Adam. Yeah.
is it in animate and inanimate atoms?
So everything is made up of atoms. Like this mic is made up of like zillions of atoms.
Right.
So the Lord resides in each one of the atoms.
Even though it's inanimate.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's energy of the Lord, right? Everything comes from Him. There's nothing that we don't see or can conceive that's not generated from the Lord. Everything. So we understand that when this universe is created, all the materials needed for creating all the planets and all of that is generated by Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And then Lord Brahma uses that. So he uses all of those and he makes a body. And then he puts a soul inside. The soul is, so that when Garbhodakashaya Vishnu comes, all the living entities are in his abdomen. And then Durga Devi is there. He glances at her and he impregnates the material world by transferring all of the souls that are in his abdomen, his womb. He's the only male that has a womb. From his womb, it goes into Durga Devi's womb. And so from there, the souls are taken, they're put inside the body, go do what you have to do. And so here we are, go do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada Gita, Shri Radha Gopi Vallabha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
He's my god brother, so you can tease me. Elder god brother, younger brother. Confusing? Hare Krishna.
Radha Gopi Vallabha.